What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your daily astrology horoscope for Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, fixed air moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all. Hope you had a great weekend, great holiday, all that good stuff. And welcome to the new week. Welcome to a new month. It's December. I can't believe it's December already. It's kind of crazy. Calendar year is almost over. Well, the astrology's things are happening. We're seeing a sun at 11 degrees of Sagittarius and within a 1 degree square to Saturn. So we're dealing with a lot of Saturnian energy right now. Saturn's online, direct here, still stationed, kind of. It's starting to creep forward, but we could be met with some sort of blocks or have to work harder today. It can kind of have that Monday feel with Saturn there, like kind of putting some pressure and some burden on our shoulders and wanting us to get things done. And I think wanting us to expand past boundaries, especially with these two mutable signs that are both like Jupiter and Neptune ruled with Sagittarius and Pisces. Having to, it's almost testing faith in some ways and testing exploration of what you want to, put out into the world, what you want to show the world, how you want to be in this new story coming off a new moon in Sagittarius. But it's like, gotta put work and effort and strive, I think, for the journey. It's like not, the journey's not always just, you know, seamless and like hop on a plane and it's just, poof. Sometimes, there's detours in life. Sometimes you have to, get to one spot to get to the connecting flight or whatever, right? There's process, and it's almost like the process is good on the journey right now. We don't want to feel overburdened by certain processes that are helping us to expand our world, right? We're also seeing Jupiter and Saturn starting to square again for the second time, and we're seeing the sun working on an opposition now. So there is big T square energy, and we're dealing with, of course, a Jupiter that's in detriment, but it disposits the sun, and these big T squares to the Saturn energy. It's very interesting about how big the exploration can be, but how it's very much a mental game. How we deal with things internally and mentally, and how that affects our beliefs and our faith and everything. This is where we really want to be mentally strong and hopeful at the same time, but also hopeful with reality in mind, right? Not just bypassing things for hope and faith, but also doing what's necessary in our day-to-day lives. And I think being quick with our intuitive action. And it's difficult because I feel like there's a lot of mental tricks, especially with Mercury retrograde, and this Cazimi is going to be opposing Jupiter, and it is going to be squaring Saturn, in orb. So there's just a lot of like, you got to be mentally strong and willful right now. And I think everything from like self-talk is super important to keeping an optimistic mindset, because sometimes the story and the journey can kind of look a little pessimistic. And I think the trick is to really stay optimistic despite certain things, but also to stay grounded in truth and what's real, and take the necessary steps and procedure to make the right changes, because it's a mutable T square, right? So it's definitely forcing change and mutation. And Sky Daddy Saturn's definitely not gonna always make it easy, but you got to remember too, Sky Daddy Saturn brings the trophies and the rewards. And I think if we're showing up in a mature way through change and mentally mature right now, we're definitely going to see how expansive things can get, and really open our hearts and have us feel in many ways more of a soul intuitive guidance for where we want to go. And we want to get to that spot, but it can be tricky mentally and kind of keep us from some of that also, if we're spinning the wheels too much, right? The moon's going to finish up in Sagittarius today. It's going to go through the galactic center. It's going to square Neptune. Excuse me, my throat is a little dry today. It's going to square Neptune, and that brings hypersensitivity and, big time emotional fluctuations. It could definitely feel overwhelming with the moon here in Sagittarius and square Neptune. Like, the tides of the ocean are, reminds me of like getting a visual of like The Deadliest Catch. I didn't really watch that show much, but I saw some things where, they're out on the boat and it's just crazy waves out in the middle of the ocean. And I think emotionally we can kind of be in that place right now, which can not, be a big benefactor for understanding. Because when it's like we can't understand why there's a storm brewing inside, not always. Sometimes we can, but trying to do our best to to go with the waves and to go with the flow. And it brings up a lot of, it could bring up some kind of guilt today, or the trick on this Monday is to really start the week positive. And it comes from a very mental place because there can be a lot of fluctuating things happening in our day-to-day lives, personal lives, and on a story that we're trying to initiate here with a new moon in Sagittarius. And got to kind of see where the journey is going to go, and flow with it as best we can. Try not to think about it too much, because I think the thinking is just going to make it harder. And we got to do our best to just let the intuition guide without the left brain, trying to make linear sense of so many possible changes or shifts that could be taking place. What's great though is Venus is trine Uranus. And this can be extremely positive for relationships. This can kind of like show the evolution of where things are trying to get accelerated towards, what's really good long term, what is holding value, what feels good, what's, ultimately connected in the best ways in your life. And it can also, be something we want to look over. Like there could be really good connection in our life that we're maybe not, giving enough value to, and certain things that we want to really build for that maybe we're not giving enough value towards. And I'm telling you right now, if something is valuable to you and you want it into the future, do the thing. Maybe it's weird. Maybe it's something out of the normal that you have to do to kind of like rekindle something, some passion, and some want and some drive. So you have to kind of like think about where everything's going and feel things right now without overstimulating your mind, but kind of trusting what is bringing physical value into your life, whether it's monetary or whether it's a person, place, or thing. Like, what is really bringing that sultry quality of goodness in? And how can you reinvent it to work with you more and not kind of miss out on it? Because it's a really nice aspect to have. And Venus is also starting to sextile over to Neptune, which is, some beautiful energy. And I think it's extremely heart opening. And, it's kind of going to show us some forms of unconditional love. And, is it unconditional love for, something we want to achieve in this world? Is it unconditional love and, drive and passion for a person in this world? We're kind of getting met with a lot of emotions surrounding like where we want to see the journey go and like where we're laying the tracks on the journey to. And it's kind of a lot to contemplate. Mars is coming to 6 degrees today. That's where Mars is going to retrograde, and that is coming up quick on December 2nd or 6th. So, and then right after Mars goes retrograde, Neptune comes online and starts pushing towards Aries. So there's definitely some big shifts, both with our conscious desire and then our subconscious, Neptune, turning back online, and kind of like the fog coming back in a little bit, but also the dreamscape becoming much more palpable and much more realized than when Neptune's offline. So, interesting time. The heart is definitely more connected to the intuition and knows the journey right now and knows what to believe in and hope for and strive for. But mentally, it's confusing, and it can feel like there's burdens. And we want to do our best to stay as positive as possible while not just completely bypassing situations in our life, but realizing what's good or not. What's good? And do you want to put some kind of a different effort into the things that are good? I think if you do, and you kind of see like there's electricity in the things that are good, and that can bring an excitement that maybe we're all, maybe not all of us, but maybe some of us are looking for. So the card is for today. I hope you all have a great month and a great week. A Hierophant. Upright. This is about traditions, but this card's funny, right? Kind of showing a unique perspective on certain traditions. And I think it's interesting with Venus trining Uranus here from Capricorn and different sort of traditions and things that we do day in, day out, even with this, these Saturn squares that are building. And it's kind of like we need to switch up the tradition a little bit. Like we need to revolutionize like how we want to go about day-to-day life and how we want to show up in society for ourselves and for others. And are we just like bored, or are we kind of ready to reinvent some situations? And maybe the reinvention doesn't make a lot of sense, but again, I think there's like a bigger calling that's saying reinvent something right now. Trust that. I love you all. Have a beautiful Monday. I'll see you all tomorrow. Much love. Peace.